Hello everyone, welcome to 𝓬𝓮𝓵𝓵. I am 𝓬𝓵𝓵. So in this particular video we are going to learn about the basic cell biology, and in the basic cell biology, so today topic we just covered this topic, that is the cell division part 1, because it's going to be complete 2 to 3 parts. So this is the first one, or the part 1 of the cell division. So first things, whenever we know about the cells, then in case our in our body, the cells are rapidly divides into various forms, or it rapidly divides. So that's why the tissue, it divides to form some tissue, or then a tissue then makes to, then some organism finally, and then it makes to form a complete organism. So why the cells are divides? First things, all the cells arise from the pre-existing cells. It means the process, by the process of the cell division. Whether we study about the any particular species or any particular cell, then it is all derived from the pre-existing species. It means it's derived from its ancestral things, or its parental cells. So that pre-existing, it means already exist in the earth or available in the earth. That's why this is known as the pre-existing cells. So this phenomenon of the production of the daughter cells, so in the first, the pre-existing cells is known as the parent cells, and from it is derived that the new cells, this is known as the daughter cells. From the parent cell is known as the cell division. So what is the cell division? So what is cell division? It means the phenomena of the production of the daughter cells from the parental cells, and this process is known as the cell division. So the development of all the multicellular organism, because whenever we study the higher organism, it is cells are divided into various forms. That's why these are known as the multicellular organisms. Even in case of the algae or the prokaryotic cells, these have only one single cell. That's why this is known as the unicellular organism. More than one cell present, then this is known as the multicellular organism. For example, animals, birds, human beings, all those things, plants, these are some multicellular organisms. So why a cell divides? So what is the need of the division of the cells? So because there is a definite balance of the ratio between the nucleus and the cytoplasmic mass of the cells. This is known as the karyoplasmic ratio. So here is the two things, because of the in case of the eukaryotic cells, basically there is a development of the nucleus, because inside the nucleus there is the found of the chromosomes, then different parts of the endoplasmic reticulum and nucleolus, all those things are present. The rest of the part is known as the cytoplasm. Outside the nucleus, these are known as the cytoplasmic thing, cytoplasmic area. So in between the nucleus and the cytoplasmic mass of the cell, called as the karyoplasmic ratio, and the nucleoplasmic ratio, or the kern plasma ratio. So it's have three different types, or three different names, that is, one is karyoplasmic, another one is the nucleocytoplasmic, another one is the corn plasma. So uh, then comes to why it is necessary for the cell division. Because due to the continuous cell growth, if there is continuously cell division occurs, then there is no balance between there is a balance between the nucleus and the cytoplasm are disturbed. So that's why it's a certain ratio, that's why it is known as it need for the division of the cell division, or the cell ratio is divided into certain types of the certain ratio. So then comes to the further, cell division is also necessary for the continuity of the organism or the species, because we have already known that the cells are derived from the pre-existing cells. So that's why it need for the continuity of the organism or the species, because of the next, it for its transform to the next generation. So types of the cell division. What are the different types of the cell division? That is various types of the cell division. One is mitosis or mitotic cell division or the equational cell division. So here is one thing, so each and every cell division have their different names. So 2 to 3 different names you can remember this. That is one is mitosis division or mitotic cell division, or it's otherwise known as the equational cell division also, because in this mitosis or the mitotic cell division, it leads to the formation of the daughter cells which are identical to the parent cells in terms of the number of the chromosomes. Suppose here is the one thing, that is the in case of the mitotic cell division, in case of mitotic cell division, suppose this is the parental cell, it have the 2n number of the chromosome, 2n number of the chromosome. Whether it is equational division, then it is also called it is then having n number of the chromosome, that is 2n and a 2n number of the chromosome. So this is the equational division, that is in case of the parents have 2n number of chromosome, in case of the parents have the 2n number of chromosome, then the daughter cells have also the 2n number of the chromosomes. That's why it is equational division. This is known as mitotic cell division or the equational cell division. Then comes to the chromosome number remains same. Chromosome number remains same. That is, here is the parent cells have the 2n number of chromosomes, then the daughter cells have the 2n number of the chromosomes. That's why this is known as the mitosis or the equational division. Then comes to the meiosis or the meiotic division or the reductional cell division. Reductional cell division, it means it is reduced to the half number of the chromosome number. Suppose this is the parental cell, this is and it consists of the 2n number of the chromosomes, then its daughter cells have n number of the chromosome or haploid number of the chromosome reduced to half. Then this is known as the meiosis or the reductional division. Then comes to some main types of the cell division, these are two main types of the cell division, mitosis and meiosis. Otherwise free cell formation, it's different types of the cell division. Then amitosis and budding, these are also cell division, types of the cell divisions. So then comes to cell cycle. Have you know about the cell cycle? Because whether we know about the cell division, then comes to it undergoes a cycling process. That's why the cell divides in a cycling process. That's why this is known as the cell cycle. So here is one thing, in case of the cell cycles, there are three things are found. So one is first of all, when a cell divides, then it first complete the whole cycle, then it performs the cell cycle processes. One is here is the one is the G1, here is the G1 phase, then S, then G2, then last one is the M phase. This is known as the mitotic phase. So every dividing cell passes through the 4 phases. So these are 4 phases, important phases. Every single cell, whenever it divides, divide to form, then the cell division occurs, then it undergoes these 4 phases. So the 4 stages, which collectively constitute as the cell cycle. These are collectively known as the cell cycle. It is mitotic cell cycle or meiotic cell cycle. It may be either mitotic or meiotic. But here is the 4 different phases, like the G1 phase. The first one is the G1 phase, or this is otherwise known as the post mitotic phase or the pre-DNA synthesis phase or the first growth period. So what is the name of the G1? G1 is the first growth period, first growth period, or first gap period, first gap period, or this is the, because after that G1, then this is the S phase. So this is the synthesis phase. So that's why according to the S phase, the G1 is otherwise known as the pre-DNA synthesis phase, because DNA is synthesized in case of the S phase. So this is the pre, it means ki pehle. So pre-DNA synthesis phase. Then the mitotic phase. So here is the M phase, here is the M phase. So after the M phase, it present G1 phase. That's why this is known as the post mitotic phase. So post mitotic phase. So it have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different names. So you can remember that is the one is post mitotic phase, then pre-DNA synthesis phase, and or the first growth period or first gap periods. So G1 phase, this phase is having high metabolic activities. So it has some activities, or it consists of, in case of the G1 phase, what actually synthesize, or what is the function of the G1 phase, or the cells undergoes in the uh, G1 phase. Actually what it occurs in case of the G1 phase. So let's come, so because here in this phase is having the high metabolic activities. It have consists of the high metabolic activity. Let's comes to the second point, like the synthesis of the proteins. In case of the DNA replication or a DNA cell division, it required some proteins, some enzymes, some RNA, some ribosomes. So all those things are synthesized during G1 phase. So time taken for the completion of this phase about 30 to 40% of the total cell cycle of the mitotic cycles. So it in G1 phase, in the last it have time in the cells, it consists of the 12 hours. In case of the G1 phase, the cell having 12 hours. 12 hours completes its cycle. In case of the G1 phase, it time duration is the 12 hours. Then comes to the S phase. So in case of the S phase, here it is the synthesized phase. It is the synthesized phase or the DNA synthesis phase. So G1 phase is followed by the S phase. So this phase is characterized by the synthesis of the DNA, that is DNA replication, as well as the histone protein, because of the histone protein is the main protein of found in case of the DNA. So DNA replication as well as the histone proteins. Then during this phase, DNA polymerase. So DNA polymerase, it is of the 3 different types. DNA polymerase 1, 2, 3. So DNA polymerase enzyme, it is responsible for the DNA replication, is functionally active. So in this S phase, DNA replication as well as the histone proteins are synthesized. Then comes to the DNA polymerase also activated. Then it is 30 to 50% of the total cell cycle. The S phase completion, the time taken for the completion of the S phase is 30 to 55 or 30 to 50% of the total cycle. It means it requires 6 hours. G1 is G1 cycle or G1 phase require 12 hours. Then comes to the S phase. S phase requires the 6 hours for completion of that cycle. Then comes to completion of the stage. Then comes to the G2 phase. Then comes to G2 phase. G2 phase or the post DNA synthesis phase or the second gap period or the second growth period. So it is the after it comes after the S phase. That's why this is known as the post DNA synthesis phase or the second gap period, because G1 is the first gap period and G2 is the second gap period or the second growth period. So it follows the S phase, because after the completion of the S phase, the cell undergoes, or the cell comes to the G2 phase. Time taken for the completion of this phase is 10 to 20% of the total cell cycle. So it requires 12 hours completion of its cell cycle or the completion of its cycle. In this phase, division of the mitochondria and the chloroplast, division of the centrioles, and the synthesis of the proteins for the spindle apparatus occurs. So these are some function, like in case of the G2 phase, spindle fibers formation and formation of the spindle fiber, then division of centrioles, then synthesis of some proteins, and some mitochondria and the chloroplast divides in this particular phase. So preparation of the cell division occurs in the cell division. After the completion of the G2 phase, here is the cells check about the the things are all the things are okay or not. After the completion of G1S and G2, then finally the cells comes to the M phase or the mitotic phase. It may be mitotic phase or the meiotic phase in case of the meiosis, or the actual cell division. Actual cell division occurs in case of the mitotic phase. So G2 phase is followed by this actual dividing phase, that is the M phase. So time taking for the completion of this phase is 5 to 10% of the total cell cycle, and hence it is the shortest of the all four phases. So G1 M phase or the mitotic phase, it requires only 1 hour for their completion of the cycle. So total, if we consider total cell cycle is the 31 hours, because G1S and G2 it is combinedly known as the interphase, and M phase is otherwise known as the mitotic phase. So total 31 hours, then 30 hours is the interphase, the cell cycle completion is 30 hours for the interphase, and in case of the mitotic phase, that is it requires only 1 hour for the completion of the cycle. So then comes to the here is you can see that G1 as G1 plus S plus G2, this is three are known as the interphase. Then it got, then after that last one is the M phase or mitotic phase. So mitotic phase is actual cell division occurs in case of the mitotic cell division or mitotic stage. So it is then further divided into prophase, metaphase, anaphase and telophase. So in the further video or the next video, we are going to discuss about the mitotic phase. So here is you can see that what is this is the G1S and G2, this is the interphase or the resting phase. So the preparatory phase, actually here the synthesis of DNA synthesis and different proteins or the cell cytoplasm, mitochondria, all those things are required or the synthesized in the interphase condition and the interphase stage. After that it is the cells comes to the M phase, or the cells actual cell division occurs in case of the M phase. So correct sequence of the different phases of the cell cycle, that is the G1, then comes to the S, then G2, then finally M phase. So time taken by these different phases varies in the different organism, also different tissues of the same organism, like that the 𝓫 or the bean, we normally called as the bean or bakla, during the different phases of the cell cycle. Here is some examples of the cell cycle, like it takes some times, like the G1 phase it requires 12 hours for completion of life, then S phase it requires 6 hours, then G2 phase it requires 12 hours, and M phase it or the mitotic phase it requires the 1 hour. So therefore the cell cycle here is of the 31 hours, that is the collectively we called as the 31 hours. Here is the G1S and G2, this is known as the interphase, this is the 30 hours and the rest 1 hour, total 31 hours. So then comes to meiotic cell division, has also interphases just like the mitotic cell cycle, consisting of the G1S and the G2 phase. However, it is the G2 phase is either totally absent or the very short. The meiotic cell division, that is the M phase, occurs just after the completion of the DNA synthesis or the S phase. So in case of the mitotic cell division, it requires G1S and G2M. Then in case of the meiotic cell division also, that is after completion of the G2 phase or the synthesis of the DNA synthesis, after the completion of the DNA synthesis. So in the next video, or the in the here is the, you can see that in the next next part we are going to learn about what is mitosis, what is the different types of the mitotic cell division, like the prophase, metaphase, and the different stages of the mitosis. Or the this is because here is the nucleus is division of the nucleus occurs, so that's why this is known as, otherwise known as, the karyokinesis also. So you can just sum up the cell cycle, that is here is the total cell cycle. First thing, see here is started with the G1, then here is one thing G0, then S, then G2, then finally this is the M phase. So first the cells undergo the G1, then comes to S, then comes to G2, then finally M. If when is cell breakdown or the cell repair mechanism, cell cycle checkpoint, whenever we see about the cell cycle checkpoint, then there is here is found the G0 stage before it enters to the S page. So here you can see that G1, S, G2, these are three collectively known as the interphase, and last one is the M phase, that is the mitotic phase. So in this video we have completed just overview of the types of the cell division and the different types of the cell division for the cell cycle and their stages. So in the next video we are going to learn about the mitosis and meiosis and what are the different types of the stages, that is prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Then comes to what are their function, what is in the karyokinesis, and in case of the prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, what is the sequence of the cells, and what is the chromosome of and the organization of the chromosomes, and what is the function of all the different stages. So in this next video we are going to cover all those things. So I think all of you clear about what is the cell division and types of the cell division and the cell cycle. So thank you.